Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful to have you here, sharing in this space of growth, healing, and transformation. If you've already subscribed to Loving Everything, thank you for being a part of this beautiful community. Your support means so much, and together, we're creating a space where love in all its forms can be explored and embraced. As you listen to this episode, if it resonates with you, I invite you to like the video and share it with anyone who might benefit from the insights we're diving into today. These conversations are all about expanding our capacity to love ourselves, each other, and the world around us. And if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to explore my other episodes where we journey into love's deepest, most unconditional forms. Each one is an invitation to reconnect with the parts of yourself that are waiting to be seen, healed, and loved. So thank you for being here. Let's begin.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Thanks so much for spending your Christmas morning with me.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm happy to have you. So, we're going to start off with, what do you love doing more than anything else? And how has this influenced your vision for the life you want to create?
Oh my gosh. What a great question right off the bat. What do I love more than anything else? That's a tricky question.
That's hard, huh?
Yeah, because I think about the balance in life. And while there's a lot of things that I love, experiences I love, people I love, I try not to dip too much in one pond, you know?
It's all about balance for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I really try. I mean, most of my life I've struggled with that, and now I feel like, okay, I have a rhythm and it's the balance. What I love more than anything. What I love more than anything is kindness. That's what I love more than anything. And equality. That's what I love more than anything.
That's so you.
That's what's coming to mind right now today.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the second part of the question?
How has this influenced your vision for the life you want to create? Seems pretty perfect.
Yeah.
You're
You're
like one of the kindest people I've met.
Yeah, I work on it. It is very intentional.
It is very intentional.
Yeah. You know, people, you can look at an artist and tangibly what someone will produce, like a painting or a picture or a song, music. I think of my life in terms of like, that's my craft, is kindness. Like the way that I show up in the world. It's very intentional. I put a lot of purpose into it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Growing up, what messages did you receive about success and happiness? And how did those align or conflict with what you want now?
Yeah. This is kind of propelling me back into this thoughts around American dream and nuclear family, and being successful is, you know, having a job that is stable and allows you to pay your bills and have a family. And I think where there's certain areas that my parents are non-traditional, there were a lot of ways that they were very traditional in that sense. So I think growing up, there was a big piece of it success was tied to financial stability and security. And then breaking away from tradition, I would say that I was taught that happiness, like whatever that looks like, contentness, was also a big piece of that too. And I'm thankful that I learned that lesson younger. I keep learning it though. It keeps coming back around.
What part of it? What do you mean?
Yeah, just that happiness and contentness looks different for different people, you know? Like for me, I don't know that my path is to have one career and have a family.
Do you want a family?
In a traditional sense. I don't know. I fluctuate. I think about, for most of my life, that answer was no.
Really?
Yeah. And it's funny because my younger sister, her name's Kelly, we had this bet going that, neither of us was going to have kids. My mom hated it, but we had this bet going that neither of us would have kids, and we bet whoever would have kids first. We each thought it was the other. Neither of us have kids.
Did you ever see yourself as a mom?
When I thought about it as a younger child, I was never the person that dreamed about like a wedding or dreamed about being a mom. Not really. When I thought about it when I was younger, I always, when it would come to mind, it would be me being a single mom, which is interesting. Yeah. And now I have these, every once in a while I have these thoughts that maybe being a matriarch in a sense would be really nice.
What would be nice about it?
That sense of community, community and family. Yeah.
Do you have that now?
I cultivate it on my own. Yeah. Yeah. I think my relationship with my mom and with my sister has, just been getting a lot better in my life, and that's been really cool. And so that blood family connection is there. And then I cultivate it in the rest of the areas of my life. Yeah, and friendships and other various types of connections. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about a childhood memory that shaped your perception of work, relationships, or your role in the world.
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind, this is a great one, and has to do with kindness. Of course. All right, really quick, I'm switching teas.
Do it.
We have a plethora of teas.
We do. Because Kat was a tea sommelier.
Oh, a sommelier wannabe.
Yeah, I was a sommelier wannabe. I still am.
Yeah. I worked for a tea company for many years, and I loved it. I loved working on the flavor profiling and the blending aspect of it. That was really fun. I still like doing that. Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when you ask me that is when I was quite young. I grew up in Arizona, and then I was born in Arizona, and then I grew up in a small mountain town in Colorado, and then about 2 years ago moved to Portland, and that's where we
You've only been here for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah, October 2022. Yeah, and I feel like this last year I'm finally putting roots down.
Yeah, it takes a minute.
Yeah, it does.
It even takes a minute to figure out the road system.
I'm still figuring that out.
I mean, my daughter and I got together last week, just as a side note.
Yeah.
And she was teasing me because she maps everything because she now is in a new area.
Yeah, because she just recently moved.
Yeah, she's been in Long Beach, which is near LA. Yeah. California, for a year now, exactly. And so, or coming up in a couple of days. And she and I were talking about how, down by the waterfront, down by below OHSU. There's that loop that you have to take in order to get down to the waterfront area.
Yeah, sure.
And she still teases me to this day because I can't tell you how many times I would miss the exit, and she'd be like, "Mom," because we'd have to go all the way around again. But for anyone who's listening or watching, Portland is the city of bridges
Yeah.
and freeways. It is not intuitive.
No, not at all.
Not at
Not
all.
at all. No.
It's very confusing, and it probably took me like 2 or 3 years to be like comfortable.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I know how to get to Southeast, but I don't even know where that street is in Southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like in that way, I've lived a few places. I won't say a lot of places, but I've lived a few places. And as far as cities go, it's definitely on the more confusing side.
Yeah.
We'll leave it like that. Kind of like San Francisco has a lot of
Big time.
a lot of one-way streets. And that's confusing for people in San Francisco. Like you turn left and you're like, oh fuck, I'm heading towards traffic now. Yeah.
I will admit, I've done that once here.
I mean, we have them too, but just not at the level that San Francisco does.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, side note, keep going. Okay.
I feel that though. I really feel that. There was a period of time, maybe about 3 months, and also I think the city blocks are so close together that sometimes the GPS can't keep up too.
And you're like, come on, tell me where I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it might tell you the wrong turn
For sure.
by accident.
A lot.
Or maybe it's user error.
Or it just tells you a lot how to get lost.
So I just tell myself I'm taking the scenic route.
Well, it's fine.
That's fine.
That's how I kept doing that
Yeah.
loop.
Yep. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, childhood memory.
Childhood memory. Okay. Yeah, the one, I can't remember all of your question, but I do remember.
You want me to repeat it? We kind of got on a segue.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Tell me a childhood
you.
memory that shaped your perception of work relationships or your role in the world.
Yes, that's right. Of course. I remembered the memory I wanted to share, but I couldn't remember exactly the question. So yeah, that's right. I started to explain that I was born in Arizona and lived there until I was in 5th grade and then moved with my family. And my father was in law enforcement. When he retired, he was in law enforcement for almost 40 years, which is a long time.
Same with my dad.
Oh, really?
Yes. What did your dad do?
He did all kinds of things.
Tell me, what did he do?
I'm switching teas again. I'll keep the listeners updated about the tea. He was a bicycle cop. He was a motorcycle police officer. He worked in drug enforcement.
Did he?
For the DEA, yeah.
So did my dad.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Andrea, we have so many.
We do have
so many areas to catch up on.
We do.
And to talk about.
We do. Okay.
My dad, I mean, he did it all. He did a lot. And
Was he a district attorney?
No.
Okay.
He did not do that. That's where it stopped.
Did he ever go undercover?
Mm-hmm.
Same with my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how old's your dad?
He passed away in May 2019. He was born in 47. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, it sucks. I still say we're best friends because I talk to him all the time like he's still here, you know?
He is still here.
Yeah, 100%. And I still feel his presence and I still spend intentional time with him, you know, listening to music or going on a hike. And yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, and this story has to do with him. He was in law enforcement in Tempe, Arizona. And one day he came home, and I was young. I couldn't tell you how old I was, but I was...
Like, if you had to guess, give me an age range. Were you a teenager or a kid?
No, younger. I was a kid. I barely remember this. Okay. And so we moved to Colorado when I was in 5th grade, so it was before then.
Okay. So you're like 7, 8, 9, something like that.
Maybe. Yeah. And he came home and he said, okay, pick out some toys that you are okay with parting with. And, that was like, as a kid, you're like, wait,
Why?
what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
He's like, pick out some toys that you're okay parting with. It's like, okay. And I picked out a couple stuffed animals. I don't remember what they were now. And then I also remember that there was a fan that it was battery powered and you could hold it down. And, we live in Arizona. And it was a mister with a little fan on the end of it. So it's like a nice little personal mister. And so we grabbed that one too. I can't remember if I did or if my dad did. And we got in the car and we drove away from the house out into, we lived in Tempe, so that's like a suburb of Phoenix.
Yeah.
But in the city still.
Yeah.
In Arizona. And so we drove, I don't know how far we drove, but we drove away from what felt like, mass civilization. And
Really quick, how old are you?
right now,
Yeah.
32.
Yeah, so I thought. Okay.
Yeah, 32.
So this
I had
is
to
like
think
the
about it for a
80s?
second.
Or 90s?
90s.
90s,
Yeah,
okay.
probably late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, 92, baby.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Good year for music.
I know.
Any Rage Against fans out there? And we drive out with these toys and we get out of the car and we drive up to what looks like a giant tumbleweed. And the climate in Arizona is very dry.
Very dry.
Very dry. It's the desert.
And hot.
Very hot.
So hot.
Very hot. I can't remember what time of year this was that we went. We get out of the car and we go up to what looks like a giant tumbleweed. I mean, it was big. It was taller than me. And my dad just starts speaking out like, hello, hey, it's Ken. That's my dad's name. And, hey, we're here. I have my daughter here. And this couple comes out from the other side of the tumbleweed. And it turns out there's a family that's living inside of this tumbleweed. And it's these parents with these 2 young kids, younger than me. And they have barely basic amenities for living. They have like a rug that they've collected and like some beds that they've pushed together and, piled up tumbleweeds to protect them from the sun and the weather. But they don't have running water. They don't have electricity. They're just trying to get by. And so we spent some time with them and I gave my toys to the kids. And this was like mind-blowing to me at this young of an age of like, why are they here? Why are they living like this? And the message that my dad portrayed to me was that not everyone has accessibility. Not everyone has the same opportunities in life. And so what I took away from that was like immense gratitude. And also, you never know what people are going through. You have no fucking clue. You have no idea. So treat everyone with kindness. You don't know if they're living in a tumbleweed with no running water with 2 young kids. Like, you just have no idea. So very impactful.
What was that like for you? Do you remember?
I remember not understanding what it meant to me for a really long time. And it's a story that it kept coming up for me in different areas of my life. And before I even understood what it meant to me now, I knew it was important. Yeah, it stayed with me.
Were you, like, I don't want to put emotions or feelings in your mouth, or in your words, but as a kid, were you open and welcoming to them? Or were you like, I don't get it? Or
Yeah.
like, did it scare you? Like,
yeah. I think I remember feeling just confused. Like, I didn't understand why they were choosing to live this way. And then that was when,
Did your dad explain it to you?
after on the car ride
did.
home, it's like not everyone has this choice, you know?
Do you know how he knew them?
Knowing my dad, I mean, he worked in law enforcement. He was a police officer, but he was never described as a police officer. People who knew him described him as a peacekeeper, and he was a people's person. So it doesn't surprise me. He would become friends with anyone. And he rooted for the underdogs, especially. So it doesn't surprise me that he got to know these people and built rapport with them, built trust with them in order for them to, you know, maybe show them where they lived, or maybe someone reported them. You know, I'm not sure about that piece.
Did you have any other experiences like this? Is this just the type of man that your dad was?
So many.
Did
So
you?
many with my father.
Yeah.
So many with my father.
It sounds like.
Yeah, he believed in people and is definitely still to this day teaching me lessons about how best to show up in the world. Big time.
Sounds like he was a huge humanitarian.
Yeah.
Which really shines through you very powerfully.
I mean, it's a driving life force is to not, and it doesn't feel, I know sometimes when you say, I want to make someone proud, it can feel like really crippling or like, you know, you're tied to something that is so heavy, but that's not how I feel in this case. I feel like I didn't ever feel pressure from my dad to show up in a certain way in most areas of my life. He just accepted me for who I was and through my immense struggle in my 20s. And yeah, he completely changed my life, the human that he was. He changed anyone's life that he interacted with. And it's a big driving force as to why I am in the Lewis and Clark program with you, you know?
It sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
What an amazing dad.
Incredibly fortunate. As I continue to move through this life, I learn more and more that not everyone has parents that are loving and supportive. They don't. And I am extremely, extremely thankful for that. I thank my mom all the time that they filled our house with love and support. They really did. Were they perfect? No. Is anyone? No. Am I? No. But that was huge, 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 huge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for asking such a great question.
This leads into the next one. What were the relationships like that you witnessed as a child, and how do those experiences affect the decisions you make today?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my parents were and are, even though my father's not physically here, immensely in love with each other. And set this, what's the right word for it?
Precedent?
Precedent. That's the perfect word for it. Thank you. Precedent of how to be loved and how to be respected and how to be interacted with in a kind way. Did they disagree? Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to see healthy conflict.
They didn't really. Yes and no. Yes and no. They were on the same page with so much that there wasn't a ton of disagreement. So in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think I really struggled as I became, moved into emerging adult. I didn't know how to deal with anger or upset. I was never taught, like, what do you do with it? And I think that's a common thing in our society.
Yeah.
Like, anger is just not really accepted, which is bullshit. Am I allowed to cuss on here? I
Yes.
should have asked you that. Okay. It's too late for me.
You're good. You're in good company.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that relationship, I mean, if we were to veer over and talk about my romantic connections, you know, I had a really challenging time connecting with people because I had such a bar. And
Your expectations were too high?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not now.
No. But I mean, like, as a teenager.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes,
when
absolutely.
potentially your partners were not ready for that level.
100%.
of
Yeah, I just didn't
investment.
really realize that, you know,
Yeah.
I thought that was the only way that you
Yeah.
connected on that level.
I think you and I are very similar that
Yeah,
way.
that's not quite the case. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And that's okay, you know.
I'm not saying that that was modeled to me. I'm saying I was definitely on a desperate search.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I was like, when is this going to show up in my life?
Yes.
I'm still like, when is this going to show up
Still
in my life?
time. You
Yeah,
know?
there's still time.
Still time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who knows what this life is going to dish out?
We're not even going to go there.
That's for another episode.
How about I just say, I'll just leave it as, I'd really like my life to get easier.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
In what ways?
Almost all.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. If I'm honest, and you and I have never really gotten into this, but I didn't pick an easy life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether that's at a soul level,
Mm-hmm.
but there have been significant difficulties that most people wouldn't come across.
Yeah.
Most people have not had to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I was a victim by any means.
I'm not hearing that.
Because, you know, as an adult, I certainly made choices, but they were very reflective of what was modeled to me and what was normalized.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so there was a huge unlearning and a huge learning curve because of that. And very devastating circumstances because I was not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I've spent most of my life trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't ever have the rule book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Like I was always missing the manual.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That resonates over here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could change one thing about about the way that you were raised or the values instilled in you, what would it be? Anything?
Yes.
I was wondering because you've kind of painted this idyllic childhood that everyone hopes to have.
In some ways, yes, absolutely. Did I have parents that gave a fuck about me? Yeah, I did. I did. Does that mean that they were emotionally available? No. No.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Mine weren't either, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. And I think
that's why kindness is so important to us.
yes. Yes, big time. Yeah, I think, another thing that shapes my why do I show up as kindness is because I have felt cruelty in this life. I have felt very othered in this life.
I had no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am different. We all are. Mm-hmm. All of us have our own unique, special sauce, special flavors that we bring to the mix. And that's just what naturally happens if you show up authentically as yourself and if you listen to what really feels good to you, which is also something that could be hard to learn, especially in a society that teaches us to be certain ways, to show up a certain way, to live the American dream, whatever the fuck that means. So yeah, that piece of it was extremely challenging growing up. I felt alone a lot of the time, not physically alone, but just mentally. I felt like I couldn't connect with people. I felt like I would try, and it felt like people weren't wanting to meet me at the same emotional depth. And it took me years of healing work to not be angry at that piece of it anymore growing up.
Or to not take it personally.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because when you are hurt, when you are harmed, like, fuck, that shit sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's definitely okay to feel that for a while.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready to heal, realize that it wasn't about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a hard lesson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that keeps coming back around.
Yeah. Well, I'm 51 and
Yeah. Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
a lesson that comes up for me too.
Yeah. Some of them are lifelong, I think. That's like one of the cool pieces of, our preferred career path, and just life in general. You don't need to be a healer to be in this space to want to continue growth in your life. But I look at that piece with excitement, and I look at it as opportunity. There's always work to be done. And it can be looked at as a negative of like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. It's like, no, like,
it's not about being perfect.
No, it's really not. Mm-mm. It's really not. It's an art craft, it's an art form. You're crafting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or getting to a bigger place of acceptance. That's
sure.
what I find.
Yeah, sure.
That's what brings in more love.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
Is the ability to love the parts that you weren't capable of loving before. Mm-hmm. Or that someone didn't show you how.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And either someone else teaches you that or you learn it on your own. But
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever felt that a lack of skills or experience prevented you from making a bold decision? And how did you address or overcome these feelings?
Yes. Kind of tying into what we've been speaking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I think personally I viewed, and I think I was taught that the way that I showed up in the world was not conducive for capitalist society, for consumerism, for kind of a lot of jobs. I never really sided with what the company wanted over what the person wanted. I've never felt comfortable with that ever. Working in management was extremely challenging. Being asked to put the company's needs over one individual person's needs was extremely hard for me.
How did you navigate that?
Not well. Openly communicated and was, knowingly or not, was advocating for the individual person and butting heads with my superiors because of that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I've been let go because of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On multiple.
Yeah.
Well, more than once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is, at the time, probably like anybody who loses a position, never welcomed. But as I look back, I think that was the way of the universe being like, no, enough of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's not.
Yeah, this isn't
for
for you.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 100%.
You're trying to make something work that isn't working.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that seems to happen with people who don't fit into this, again, American Western culture norm.
I don't.
Of like, just produce, just show up to work and grind, just,
I never have, but
Yeah.
I definitely made it work for a really long time at the expense of my own health.
Yeah, 100%, because we're forced to on a certain level. You know, you have to play the game for a certain level. You have to be able to feed yourself, to house yourself, so you don't
Live in a tumbleweed.
have to live in a tumbleweed. That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And honestly, do I wish I have ever possessed those skills? Do I wish that I have had or could have had those skills? No. No. Because I'm proud of the person that I am today that says I don't need any of that bullshit. I choose not to engage with that style of this life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you for learning it at this age.
It was challenging. It was challenging. I think the biggest catalyst for the change was last summer in July. I engaged with a psilocybin ceremony, and it completely shifted the way that I view myself.
Really? Uh-huh. It was that profound.
It was incredibly impactful. I didn't look at my endless well of empathy as a gift. I didn't see it that way at all. Because I continually was taught this lesson that it was bad. It's not good to care about people like this. You need to look out for yourself.
It's too much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's too much. You feel too deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me too.
And I went into this ceremony with, the intention to go inward and ask these questions. And I wanted to get curious around, where's my place in this life? How can I show up in this life and take care of myself in the way that I need to? Once I had that mentality shift of, hey, actually, empathy is an incredible thing. You can show up for other people as people have shown up for you.
It's a strength.
Hugely. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, with proper boundaries, it doesn't mean be a doormat.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it is a strength to be that emotionally in touch or in tune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It is. And then that's the muscle piece of the boundaries.
Yeah.
I think. How much can you give? Again, that
without losing yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that balance. What do I need to do for myself in order to remain who I am, Kat, and be able to show up for other people, which is something that I need also to do for myself. Yeah. This psilocybin ceremony. Shout out plant-based medicine. And
so what was the conclusion you came to at the end of that ceremony?
The conclusion, well, it took months of integration to really figure out, where does this fit in with my life? And I'm really thankful I was able to work with a counselor that we had 3 years prior work done together that kind of helped me piece it together as well. A lot of journaling, a lot of sitting with it. And the conclusion was, okay, you belong in the healing world. And figure it out. But that was all it took, the catalyst. I'm like, that was all it took, but it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, so much besides that.
And now I'm sitting here today, having met you through our program at Lewis and Clark, learning to become professional mental health counselors and working towards our licensure, and I'll be able to feed myself while I hold space for other people, which is so cool. That's so cool. I'm so excited to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Definitely have Job security. We definitely have job security.
Yeah. Big time.
I've never had that. I've
Yeah.
never had it
Yeah.
in all of the work that I've ever done.
Yeah.
I've always been like, I could get fired at any moment. Because I was in very high pressure environments.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. What a shift just for yourself.
Well, the shift happened in 2014 when I moved up here. Because I didn't have a psilocybin ceremony. I was in a very different place in my life. I'd been diagnosed with Graves' disease, and I think I'd had it for maybe a year to 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say when it started. I mean, I remember the morning I woke up and noticed it, but I think it was probably like a 5 to 8 year process previous to that just kind of led up to that,
Yeah.
culminating. But no, when I moved to Portland, I mean, with the strict intention to change my life.
Yeah.
It was a conscious decision.
Yeah.
I left everything behind. I left friends. I left the home. I left everything.
Yeah.
And I started over. And I've done that numerous times in my life where I've had to start over from scratch.
Yeah.
All over again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't say that I love the process, but I'm noticing that more than most people, I'm really skilled at it. And it's probably what gives me a lot of my resilience. But no, this program to me is, it's a couple of things. Of course, it's going to help me be a better person. There's no way that doing all of that and learning all of that isn't going to make me better at being me. So that was a conscious goal. It's like the next step.
Yeah.
What am I still missing?
Yeah.
But also, or what work do I still need to do?
Yeah.
But also for me, I'm in a different place. So one, having the security of doing something that I love. But also for me, I have a different perspective than you. I won't say I'm just doing it for the degree, but to me, and I'm not doing it for other people necessarily, but for me, that accreditation is like the icing on the cake. I've already really built the cake.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like proof
Yeah.
that I walk the walk and talk the talk. And
Yeah.
it's proof to the rest of the world that I've jumped through the hoops and
Yes.
I'm not going to
Yes.
lead you astray.
Yes.
You know, that I'm not just coming up with techniques on my own, you know, trying to help you, right?
Yes.
That the work that I do is evidence-based. And even if I do say that as a life coach, because I've chosen to lean heavier into the spirituality and the woo, it makes the rest of the world a little bit skeptical of my capability.
Yes, unfortunately.
And so because of that, for me, the reason why I'm pursuing it is to broaden the pool of accessibility for me.
Yeah.
Because I think I do a very good job of blending the science with the things that are unseen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what we're moving towards as a culture, I hope, as humanity continues to evolve.
Yeah. I hope too. I think there's a lot that we don't understand and we're scared of because we can't tangibly see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fear of the unknown.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Or fear of surrendering to something that.
Yeah. Is bigger than you.
Yeah. Yeah. There. We could talk about that specific
that
concept
ego,
for a
man.
minute.
Okay. So, I feel like you started to answer this and I keep interrupting you.
That's okay. It's the art of the conversation.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever felt that a lack of skills or experience prevented you from making a bold decision, and how did you address or overcome those feelings? Did we cover that? I feel like you were starting to talk about that.
I spoke about it very broadly.
Yeah, but how did you address or overcome those feelings? You were saying that it was very difficult for you.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did answer it. You answered it.
I mean, we could go more in depth. We could with any of these, really.
So what was the most difficult part for you?
The second time that you hit me with it, what's coming up now is my thoughts around how to cope in life. You know, you talk about skills. Coping skills are different for everybody. You know, what brings us comfort? What brings our system regularity? You know, for a lot of us, we have a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms.
So many.
Yeah. So many that are unhealthy, maybe to our bodies, our minds, and our spirits, but are considered not unhealthy to American society.
Yeah.
Alcohol is one of them.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I don't think that's a spoiler alert.
Well, we're hypocritical in nature in the way that we treat ourselves, right?
Yeah. Well, and
because we're like, oh, we're healthy, but then we're doing all these other things that are unhealthy, right?
And that's why I put up the quotes with healthy, because what the fuck is healthy?
Yeah, like, you know? I go to the gym. Okay, great. And you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You scroll on Instagram until 1 o'clock at
night.
Yes.
We are imperfect creatures, and we are often looking for the quick fix of, especially if it's a coping mechanism.
Of not feeling pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Not feeling our pain.
Exactly. That's why I'm so interested in this addictions specialty track that we're in our program, is because I'm just fascinated by the various copious ways that we humans work through this life, that we cope with this very painful life experience, because it is a painful life experience. No matter who you are.
It is.
We all have our...
We cannot escape it.
Yeah. We all have our extremely challenging things. Some experiences are extremely way more challenging than others. And so do I wish that I had some skills around how to cope? Yes. And there's no one to blame for that. It's just that, I needed different skills around that. And at a young age, I experienced things that I didn't know how to handle. I didn't know how to hold. I didn't know how to communicate about them, which is normal. And so I turned to alcohol and cocaine.
I did too.
Yeah.
And cocaine?
Yeah. Yeah, especially when I was working in the service industry. Those two kind of just go hand in hand.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And various other coping mechanisms. Codependency was one of them, which was, we spoke about what was a good example of a healthy relationship. Again, healthy. It's subjective. It's different for every person. So codependency linked with, my representation of what a beautiful relationship looks like was just such a mess. It's just such a mess.
Me too.
And I have no regrets. And I have no regrets anymore about any of that.
I don't have any regrets.
I wouldn't be sitting here with you today.
0 regrets.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do any of it over.
Yeah, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
No, but also I don't see it as mistakes. Like, I was learning the entire time.
100%. Yeah. This life is just a learning
super
process.
Valuable.
Yeah.
It was super valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It can be a tricky lesson to realize in the moment.
Oh, for sure. Or a devastating realization.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Okay. Thank you. What strategies have helped you explore unfamiliar career paths or new possibilities, even when you felt limited by what you already knew? I,
at a certain point, started getting really curious. and just asking questions. I would find people in these career fields and start asking them about their experiences. Like, how do you like your job? What do you do? What does your day-to-day look like? What lights you up about it? What do you not like about it? I sat with, before I decided on becoming a counselor, I sat with becoming an ASL interpreter, and ultimately decided not to go that route because I have a voice, and there are some messages that I would have a really hard time just communicating with other people, because I value kindness, I value equality, and if it was messages that were laced with unkindness or inequality, I would have a really hard time with that. Yeah, I would have a really hard time with that. I would not be able to not say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who are the people who uplift you and help you see new possibilities for your life?
Oh, well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people in my life that I feel uplifted by.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm incredibly thankful for that. Yeah.
Well, that says a lot about you. You've cultivated the relationships.
It has been a garden. It has been a garden, and I'm still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a living, breathing thing. And I love very fiercely. I love with my whole heart, and I've learned to be very, very careful about who I surround myself with. Yeah.
I love with my whole heart, too.
Yeah, I know you do. I love that about you. That's why we're friends.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Me too, Andrea. And, you know, just like a garden, you know, there's certain people that I think I'll gravitate to for certain lessons or certain support. And these people won't be able to feed me over here in this area. So it's kind of like, you know, you need a plethora.
Mm-hmm.
You need a plethora.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes back to this concept of like, you know, maybe one person isn't supposed to be all of the support. It's not.
They can't be.
No, it's unrealistic. It really is.
I mean, but also, on the other hand, there are going to be times in life where they're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes outside circumstances are not in your control.
Always. Almost always.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it will, you know, if you're partnered, it will leave times in that partnership where that is.
Sure.
That is your anchor.
Sure. Sure.
Or your best friend.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is your anchor because everything else has fallen away.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I've shared this with you yet. I'm not sure. I identify with a polyamorous style of love. Have I shared that with you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And so much to say around that.
I have lots to say too.
Yeah. 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 I think.
I was just talking about it with my daughter before I came here.
Were you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That does not surprise me. That does not surprise me.
Why? Why does it not surprise you?
Just because sometimes, you know, these themes, these topics, sometimes they have like an energy around them, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Or you could say that I'm psychic.
Sure, let's go with that one.
And I knew it might come up.
You are very intuitive.
I am. So I was married. We're talking about you, but
that's
I'll
okay.
just
This
say quickly.
This is a conversation.
Yeah. I'll just say quickly that I was married for 19 years and I was in that relationship for 22. And when I first met my ex-husband, I was 26. And at the time, being bisexual, I was just explaining this the other day, not to my daughter, that I couldn't visualize a monogamous relationship around me that had been healthy. One. Two, I was bisexual and I was like, I don't know if I could completely commit at this point in my life to male or female. Even though I would say I lean heavier on the male, right? And then my ex-husband had been in a relationship that was monogamous. And they had a lot of dysfunction around sex. We'll leave it at that. I have a lot more insight on that now, 22 years later, but a lot of dysfunction. And he did not want to be in a monogamous relationship. He made that very clear multiple times over the relationship in ways that were not very kind. So
Did you
to
know?
me, well, I knew some of the time.
Oh, ouch.
I knew some of the time, but we went into the relationship slightly, for the most part, open. And so this is way before it was trendy or cool, and nobody we knew was doing it. So there's a sharp learning curve there on how to communicate around it.
It can be uncomfortable talking about vulnerabilities.
And I wouldn't say that we were poly. I say we started out as swingers.
Yeah, just bringing in a sexual component of it. Yeah.
And, while I lived in San Francisco, I knew a lot of people in the poly community. I know it's pretty big here in Portland as well.
Huge. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. I
had no clue.
There's lots of overlap. So
I was very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is a good community for me.
Yeah. I have lots of feelings around it. I have a lot of betrayal trauma around it. My thoughts are, and this is what I was telling my daughter this morning, and I'm supportive of whatever is best for you, of course, but my thoughts are, in hindsight, that if you really do want other partners, that I think you're not being really honest about where your present relationship is. That certainly in 22 years, there were times that I wasn't attracted to him for many reasons. Multiple reasons.
Sure.
Normal reasons, not natural reasons, not natural
Yeah,
reasons.
I was going to say, I think that's
your,
normal.
Yeah, your relationship evolves.
100%.
And you are going through different waves of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And you're both going through different waves, right? And hopefully they convene. But my thoughts around it are that if you have decided that you no longer want to be intimate with someone, that you should just say, our relationship has evolved to this, and I'm recognizing that. And even though that makes me really sad,
Yes.
in my authenticity, I don't want to lose you as being close to me, but I'm recognizing that this is no longer fulfilling my needs. And so I'm going to then be intimate with this person and no longer be intimate with you. As opposed to, I see over and over and over again, and have seen over and over again. I'm not saying people don't get it right. I'm saying it takes a tremendous amount of work and conscientiousness and communication more than sex. People think like, oh, this is going to give me more sex. No, it actually gives you more communication.
100%.
It's all talk for the most part.
That's very well,
because you're talking to this person, and then you're talking to this person, and then after it happens, you're then coming back to this person, and then coming back. Like it just Anyways, so
100%.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's more communication than sex.
There's a lot of stigma around polyamory and what that means, and the more that I learn about it and the more that it sits right with me and with my heart is that ultimately we as individual human beings and as community are the designers of our own lives. Like, fuck what people tell you to do. If it feels better for you to be able to love openly with multiple people, as long as it's consensual and well communicated, do that. If that brings you joy and love into your life, do that. if you have to go about it in a shady matter that's like involving lying or cheating, like, what are you doing?
Well, it can give people the permission to drag another person around with it because that person doesn't want to lose the intimacy in the relationship. That's what I mean. I saw over and over and over again one partner being like, well, I guess this is what we're doing. While the other person is like, this is what we're doing.
Oh, yikes. See, that's tricky. Okay, so what it sounds like is that's moving from like a monogamous relationship into forming into like a poly or an open style relationship.
Or people who are more comfortable with monogamy.
Yeah.
And just aren't ready to say, you know, rather than cheat on you.
Yes.
Let's open up our relationship.
Yes.
Because then I have permission now.
Yeah.
And now we're just processing all of the stuff that's happening on top of the things that I don't want to process or deal with you. So I'm going to put a person in between the two of us. So now I don't have to.
Oh, yikes. That's messy. That's very messy.
But it also is generally.
Yeah. Well, humans are messy. I mean, monogamous relationships are messy.
For sure.
You know? You're just
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it gets exponentially
100%.
more complicated.
100%.
The more people that are involved.
You're adding more layers.
Yes.
You're adding more layers, more
Yes.
complexity. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's where I think practicing, like, there's been this comparison made of like, you know, when the relationship's not going well, that people decide to have a kid and think that that will just fix it. Spoiler alert, it won't.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have this primary relationship solid.
Yeah.
Same thing with if you're going to open up a monogamous relationship to polyamory.
Yeah.
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 I just find that the primary doesn't stay the primary.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, you just have to say, you're not my primary anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. 100%. I love that our conversation has led us to this topic because, listen, I could talk about this topic for a really long time.
I'm sure you could. And I, as we were starting to open into it, I was like, we still haven't even gotten into harassment. That's what's so funny. We're an hour in.
I love that. I love that. It's all right.
Okay. So let's see. Let's scoot forward a little bit. What unique challenges have you faced as a cisgender female? And how have those experiences shaped your resilience? There you go, Kat.
All right. Get ready, everyone. I'm about to rage for a hot second. Yeah, this could be a good segue into harassment for sure.
Okay. Well, that's what I was hoping.
Yeah, yeah. Patriarchy sucks, y'all. It fucking sucks for really, literally quite everyone involved. I mean, sorry, buddy. Sorry. Yeah, as a cis female, I mean, regardless of how you identify with your gender, people make assumptions about you based off of how you look and the way you show up in the world and kind of like what your general vibe is. I would say growing up, I experienced, and I still do, harassment and sexual harassment and unwanted advances and unwanted attention just for looking the way that I look and for showing up the way that I show up.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But for the person who's listening that might be like, then why'd you wear a short skirt?
Fuck you. I'll wear whatever I want.
What's the difference between the attention that you do want and the attention that you don't? Can you give us examples?
For me specifically, like
for the people who are just not getting it, let's make it real clear.
the attention that I want from you is none. Period. I do Fucking period. The shit that I do in my life, the things that I do in my life is for me. It's not for you. The way that I look, the stuff that I wear, the way that I dance, the way that I smile at you, it's not for that. It's not for that. I am about connection. I am about being a safe space. And there's a very, very fine line of like, especially with cis men, unfortunately. I don't like stereotyping because there are a lot of people who are cis men who are not this way. Unfortunately, the majority is this way, is that they think it's about them. It's for them. It's something that they can have. It's not. Get over yourself. Definitely annoyed. Definitely triggered by it, Andrea. And the reason I'm so triggered by it right now is because I'm dealing with this harassment stuff at work.
But it's not, just for everyone listening, it's not happening to you necessarily. You're witnessing it, right?
Oh, it is happening.
It's happening to you,
It
too.
has happened to me in the past.
It's not currently happening with you.
It's not currently happening with me.
It's happening with somebody else that you work with.
There's a coworker that has come to me that has experienced harassment from the same person. And so now there's two people at work that have these shared experiences of harassment at work. It's not okay. It's not okay.
And nothing's being done about it, right?
It's so layered. Yes and no. Is it being handled in the way that I think it should be handled? No, absolutely not.
Do you think that's because you're female?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. The ideologies that are coming out of the boss lady's mouth, who is a woman, by the way, who ought to be handling these harassment cases, is set in victim shaming mentality, which leads back to patriarchy. Unfortunately, women in a patriarchy society are responsible for the way that men act. And that's absolute fucking bullshit. Men are responsible for the way that they act. If someone says, hey, the way that you're acting is making me uncomfortable, the things you're saying are making me uncomfortable, don't fucking touch me, stop immediately. It doesn't mean try again. It doesn't mean take a different approach. It means listen to what they're saying and fucking stop. Done. That's it.
Oh, you mean no means no?
Yes.
It doesn't mean if I try again, maybe you'll change your mind?
Consent is an enthusiastic yes. Write that down, everyone.
Okay.
And I got really loud to the mic. Sorry.
You're fine. You're good. You're good. You just be you. Okay.
I would say, I was thinking about this as I was driving here today. And I wrote this in a paper this semester. And I wish this was an exaggeration. I really do. It is not, unfortunately. I think that in my life, I have experienced such inappropriate behavior from men.
Give us examples.
Harassment, verbal harassment, physical harassment, sexual assault, rape, unwanted attention, just continually not fucking listen to me, not fucking listening to me saying no in many different ways, saying no nicely, saying no meanly, just not fucking listening.
Same.
Yeah. And a lot of us. I mean,
And then I married somebody who didn't listen. Because it came from a family with a mother who didn't listen.
yeah, it's taught behavior. It's ingrained in our society. It's so normalized. It's so fucking normalized. And it just blows my mind that speaking about feminism or from a feminist lens is seen as radical. And it's like, no, y'all, that's what normalcy ought to look like.
Yeah.
Equality for people, that's what normalcy ought to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal out there, ladies. I see you.
Especially in your 20s.
Yeah.
Especially in your 20s.
Coming of age, figuring out your own sexuality,
Totally.
which is
What your
completely
boundaries are.
normal. What your own boundaries are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finding your voice. That's another big one for me.
And then men also doing the same.
100%.
And like I was on the phone with my daughter this morning, and I was like, I'm not making up this statistic right now. They think about sex once a minute. I'm like,
Sorry, I'm
so
laughing,
you and
but-
I have been on the phone right now for 25 minutes. They've already thought about, if it was with a man, they've already thought about it 25 times while in conversation with you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it justifies anything.
Yeah, but being
I'm
able
saying,
to practice empathy.
But
Yeah.
that's a very
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
way of being in the world than it is for me. I'm not
Totally.
saying that in that 25 minutes I maybe didn't think about it myself,
Okay, good. Because I was like, well.
but I'm saying I didn't think about it 25 times, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
in my 20s as a man, that driving force, I don't have a lot of practice with controlling it. I'm not, again, justifying any behavior. I'm saying as a 51-year-old woman, as I look back with perspective,
Sure.
I'm like,
Sure.
okay, now that
Yeah.
makes a lot more sense. In my 20s, I was just as angry as you, and I was like, fuck men,
I
right?
think, honestly, I'm going to be angry about it my entire life. Because it's justifiable anger, you know? Is it out of control anger? No, it's not. It's totally justifiable.
I got the loudest candies for us today. Why are they all individually wrapped? Okay.
Placed in neat little rows. That's an atmosphere
All
drop.
the plastic. All the plastic. Yeah, you think you'll be...
You picked up yours, and I was like, oh, I'm going to pick up mine again.
So you think you'll be angry about it for the rest of your life?
100%. The only difference here is that it's not a rage that's out of control. It's not a rage that dictates my actions. It's a rage that I allow to fuel my advocacy and fuel my empowerment and fuel my ability and desire to educate both myself and the people around me. Everyone, really.
It's healthy rage.
Yeah, it is. I've learned to channel it. Plus, man, it's just kind of fun to feel it sometimes, you know? Yeah, it is. There's a lot you can be rageful about in this life. Justifiably so.
It is an emotion that we all feel. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that's wrong with it is how you handle it. I mean, we can both agree that if I get really angry right now and I go punch a wall, it's probably not effective anger. I'm not teaching anybody anything. Yeah. Okay. So now we're touching on some stuff. Have you experienced sexual harassment or workplace harassment? How did you navigate those situations, and what advice would you give others in similar circumstances?
Great question. I'm just doing a quick audit. I think the majority of every job that I've had, I've experienced workplace harassment in one way or another by cis males. And it gets very tricky when someone is in a position of power.
Yes.
It completely changes the dynamic.
Yes, it does.
Because your security is linked with likability of your boss.
Totally.
Right?
And keeping that position.
100%. Yeah. It's very sticky. Harassment is hard enough to come forward about and talk about. Harassment is hard enough as a young woman to understand what the fuck is happening, because I don't think we talk about it enough. You can go to harassment trainings, you can have harassment trainings at your place of work, and okay, I understand what that means, I understand, but to have it in the tangible lived experience of it can be very clouded, very confusing. And if we're not taught, like I wasn't, about how to speak up when something doesn't feel right, when something feels uncomfortable, or just even have a safe adult or a safe human to go to and talk about these things. Oh, it's very tricky. It's very tricky. There was one instance where I worked for a small craft cocktail bar, and my boss at the time made a pass at me, and I was so shocked by it that I just allowed it to happen. And it wasn't until hours later, like I was so taken aback by it. I was almost like in shock immediately. And it wasn't until hours later that I realized, okay, that was really wrong. Like that was really, really bad. And that was a job that I didn't say anything. I just left. I just found another job because I was so uncomfortable. I didn't have the resources or the skills to even know what do I do next? I was so uncomfortable. I just left. Now, most companies have HR, human resources services. It's debatable for some companies if they're
helpful or useful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because, unfortunately, they sometimes have the company's best interest at heart and not the human's interest at heart.
Have.
Yeah.
Almost 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are other resources you can go to, though. I think the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, I may have butchered that, EEOC. You can file a complaint with them, and they will more often than not have open an investigation. Here in Oregon, you can file a complaint or send in a statement of your experiences to the BOLI, the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries, which is what I'm in the middle of doing right now with my current situation at work. I think the first thing, if you're a woman and if you're anyone, period, and you experience something at work that feels really uncomfortable, sit with it. I would get curious around it, That's the first thing I would do. And then go and speak about it with a trusted human in your life, if you have a trusted human in your life. Mm. Yeah.
Your silence speaks more.
It's such a shit show out there.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
I was in my 30s. I think I was 33, 34. It's a little bit older than you. I was an executive assistant to a CEO. He pulled me into his office and had me close the door. And he said to me, he started just talking to me about what people at the company would think. Like, just jumped into a conversation. And I remember he had probably been talking about 3 to 5 minutes, and I stared at him. And I was like, what is he talking about? And then finally I was like, he thinks I want to sleep with him. It took me that long to figure it out. Because it was so not in my periphery. It was so not like I had never seen him that way. Sure, I joked around and was relaxed around him and shared about, my marriage and, not to the extent of like our sex life or anything, but like, sure, you get to know people, and I won't say there was ever flirting between us, but we had grown comfortable around each other for sure. And so I was just so puzzled, and he just kept talking about like what other people would think. And I was so perplexed, and I looked at him, I remember, in total shock. And I was like, do you think I want to sleep with you? Like, I'm married. I'm married.
You just flat out asked him.
I never asked him. That's the thing.
But did you flat out ask him?
In the conversation.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I was like, what made you think?
What's he talking about?
That I was interested in pursuing you. I've got a kid. Like, Did I look unhappy? Like, I was taking it personal. Like, did I allude to the fact that it was unhappy? I was newly married, so I wasn't even super unhappy yet. The point is this is how it was handled. He was like, I don't know if I want to keep you on. So I'm going to go on a business trip this next week, which was on his calendar. I knew it was coming. And when I come back, I'll let you know if you can still work here. And so for a week, I sat at my desk wondering whether or not he was going to fire me because he thought I wanted to sleep with him. It was the weirdest mind fuck.
Was it a reciprocal conversation or was it just him?
No, he just came back and he's like, it's okay. I've decided it's okay that you stay. So I went through all of that. And I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. While he was gone, I was like, recruiters, looking at jobs. And I was there for probably, just like you, I maybe stayed another 2 months because I was like, no way.
Yikes.
No way. The ego on you. No way.
Yikes.
Dean Center, you're a special man. That's all I'm going to say.
Yikes, dude.
Oh, man. Was he full of himself? He was married too. With like teenage kids. And I was just like, dude, this is not happening. You're not.
I wish that I could say, hey, that sounds like a really unique situation to be in. But I'm sitting over here like doing an audit of my experiences and I'm like,
was just like,
oh yeah,
what?
yeah. Delusional. Fucking delusional. Like where, like,
I get that I'm young and hot. And
why isn't
like,
there a reciprocal conversation around like, hey, I'm having these feelings.
But I'm going to push them on you.
Am I reading this right?
Let
what
me
do you
project it
think?
on you.
What do you think? Is that what you're going for? No? Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all it has to be. Fuck.
Or maybe I'm feeling these things towards you.
Not in touch with himself at all.
Yeah. I'm feeling these feelings towards you. I don't want that to be my fault. It's got to be something that you're doing.
Yikes, dude. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Like, I just wanted to throw out, like, it's a thing.
I'm glad you spoke to that. I mean, so many instances. There's so many running through my head right now that I literally can't pick one.
I've been touched inappropriately. Mm-hmm. People could say, like, you deserved that because you were working in the adult entertainment industry.
Uh-huh.
But no.
Nope.
No, I didn't. Just because I was wearing a bikini doesn't necessarily mean you have ownership over my body.
No. Never. Ever, 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 ever. Unless there is consent. Ever. Ever.
So I get it.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I smile at the wrong person and they think I'm just like in love with them. That's all it takes.
You are pretty cute. You should stop being so cute.
I'm working on it. I didn't do my hair today. I didn't put on any makeup. That's pretty usual for me though. These are jokes, by the way, in case that was unclear.
You should hide more.
I should hide more.
Appealing.
Yeah. Also, I should probably stay inside at night too.
You should. And stop smiling.
Yeah, 100%. Or smile more.
I mean,
really, I'm just gonna do exactly what the fuck I want. Thanks.
Let's see. There is not much time left.
Okay.
But you're so fun.
This is really fun.
Fear of retaliation is a common challenge. How do you stay motivated to keep pushing when you aren't being heard? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, this is a really important one, though. I'm so glad you brought this up today. In my specific case that I'm working on right now, my experience with harassment at my place of work right now, while I'm not experiencing it right this moment, I had for about a year plus with the same person that I continually asked to stop giving me this type of behavior and attention. I don't know how else I could have communicated it. Maybe written it on giant block letters on like a poster board and like hold it up. Like, I don't know how else. Before I.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
For the person that's completely unaware of this ever happening to them, I'm just being devil's advocate.
Yeah, I love it.
Why did you stay?
Yes. Because it's not my problem. It's their problem.
And that's what's changed from you leaving the bar.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yes. 100%. Yes.
You're not taking ownership of what somebody else is doing for you.
100%.
Doing to you, I should say.
100%.
You're having them take ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up.
I just wanted to clarify
100%.
that.
Yes. Yes. It is not my problem. I should not be the one to leave. I love my job. I love the community so much, so dearly. It's his problem. And now he's doing this to another person. So now it's a pattern. They need to go. They need to go. They don't understand what no means. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, retaliation is a thing that one has to consider when you come forward and you bring these things to light. It's very sad that we have to consider it. For me personally, for this experience personally, I'm in a very special and privileged position currently because I work part-time at my job and I took out student loans for my schooling, and I don't need this job financially. I will be okay. Do I want to leave this job? Fuck no.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go anywhere. Because of that, I feel like I'm in a position where I can make a lot of waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the person that I am now, I can't not make a lot of waves. Honestly, even if I was financially tied to this job, I think I would still be reacting the same way.
Yeah.
I've gone to management. I've tried to speak with management. Management has a victim-shaming mentality, unfortunately. And it causes a lot of harm for managers to have that mindset, because when there's young women like past Kat, who was at this job and left the job, when you come forward about something that's incredibly uncomfortable already and you don't have someone's support, fuck, it sucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's devastating on a whole other level. I mean, you hear the phrase of like you re-experience the assault when, survivors of sexual assault disclose to someone and then that person doesn't believe them. They experience the assault all over again. That's 100% true, and it translates to harassment as well.
Yeah.
When you're not believed, when you're not supported in your experience, fucking devastating. And it's important to come forward if you feel uncomfortable at work. It's important to come forward if you feel uncomfortable at work. For me personally, I think it's worth it. It's tricky because if you don't feel safe with your manager, I would recommend going to HR. Again, it's tricky with HR. So again, if you don't feel like safe with HR, go above their heads. Light a fire. Watch it burn.
If someone listening is afraid to speak up or leave a toxic situation, what advice or encouragement would you want to give them?
Yeah, that fear is so real. It's very challenging finding your voice as a woman in the society. And unfortunately, these experiences force that voice out. They can. If there's someone that you trust and you can disclose to them, I highly recommend it. if it feels safe to try to find a counselor and disclose, I highly recommend it. I know that that space can also be extremely harmful. There are also hotlines that you can go to. I don't know specifically if there are for harassment, though.
I don't either.
That would be a cool niche. I know that there are.
Maybe you found your calling.
Maybe I have. Yeah, because I am interested in crisis work.
I know you are.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to talk about it, though. Because there's power in numbers. And the more open you can be about these things, even if people tell you not to talk about it, that's bullshit and it's illegal and it's unethical. So fuck them if they tell you that. You might be normalizing something that's really difficult. And through doing that, you might find community in it. You might have set the stage for somebody else to also come forward about what they're also experiencing. It's hard, though.
It is.
It's really hard.
It is.
Yeah.
There's no other way for us to evolve without shining a light on what is still hidden. No matter how painful.
That is so
for
appropriate.
Everyone involved.
Yeah. And that's so appropriate, having just celebrated the winter solstice. Right? We're moving away from the darkness.
You talked about your gifts. That's my gift. That has been my gift my entire life. I'm like a blinding fucking flashlight. Unintentionally. And people are like, wait, hold on. Let me push this behind the cat. Don't look underneath the rug. Wait, what? I wasn't quite prepared. Hold on.
Like, too bad. Here we go.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah.
It's time to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's enormous power.
I also want to speak to when you start speaking your truth, when you start saying what's really happening, when you start speaking about your authentic experiences, it eventually brings empowerment.
Yes, it does.
You become so much more rooted in yourself.
You're liberated.
Yeah. Yeah. And that piece of it, if anything else that you can find, that piece of it is fucking huge.
Yeah.
Even if no one else fucking believes you, fuck them. You know deep down what the fuck it feels like and what the fuck happened. I cussed a lot.
It's okay, Kat.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
You're
Merry
welcome.
Christmas. All I want for Christmas is death to the patriarchy. Cheers.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this podcast. Your presence here means the world to me, and I'm truly grateful for your time and energy. If this conversation resonated with you or sparked any questions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from each of you. Your insights, experiences, and curiosities always enrich this space. It's important to remember that trauma, often unseen and unacknowledged, can keep us from living fully in our joy. Through my intuitive healing process, I help release the weight of generational trauma, empowering you to reconnect with your true self and experience life in greater harmony. If you feel called to explore this deeper work, I invite you to book a one-on-one intuitive session or even embark on a personalized journey with the Phoenix Immersion, a 2-day retreat designed to support profound transformation. You can find all the details below. For those who've liked, subscribed, or left comments already, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your engagement means everything, and I'm deeply grateful for the connection we're building in this community. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I'm excited for all the healing and transformation we'll continue to explore together. As always, I'm forever grateful for you, and I cannot wait to see what unfolds next. Take care, and until next time.